name's Mary, and this is Happily Ever Esch. So today I would like to just talk a little bit about the 3 audiobooks that I listened to in January. I did do a wrap-up for the physical books that I read that I will link or tab somewhere. So in case you're interested, you can go check that out as well. So I listen to 3 audiobooks. I have an hour commute every day, so I get a lot of time in the car, and so I use Overdrive at my library, which I absolutely love, to listen to audiobooks, and I listen to 2 nonfiction and then 1 fiction story, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first book I listened to in January was Behind the Beautiful Forever's Life, Death, and Hope in a Mumbai Undercity, and this was by Katherine. Boo has been a journalist in the United States. She has spent her career writing and studying poverty and the effects of poverty, but specifically in America. So Katherine Boo married an Indian man, and so she started spending a lot more time in India, and so was just curious and wanting to write and study poverty in a different country, because obviously there's so much policy and the government has such a huge effect on how people in extreme poverty live. So Katherine chose this place called Undercity. It is an undercity in Mumbai. Undercity is kind of, I guess, different than some slums or undercities because of its location. So Undercity is located directly behind, or almost under, if you will, the international airport. So there is this huge international airport, these huge, beautiful international hotels, and then right behind it, like literally behind the wall of the airport, is this just huge land that is inhabited by many people, and so it's kind of called an undercity because it is under almost the airport in this huge kind of industrialized space. So Katherine Boo spends years studying and kind of doing a very intensive case study and interviews with the citizens of Undercity, and this book is these people's stories, and so I really enjoyed it. It was a hard listen. There are definitely heartbreaking, sad, and just totally just hard things going on in this place, but there is a lot of hope and life there as well, and just how Katherine Boo writes about this in such a real and I felt honest way was just incredible. In Katherine Boo's author notes, she even talks about how the people knew that all of their lives were going in, and they wanted to share their story, they wanted to tell about their life, and so you really do get their life. It's not just a snapshot, it's not just a piece, it is really a chunk of time. Like if they had sat down and told you your story or the story of the people that they live with, I mean, you really get this true, honest look, and it's just so full of humanity, and there's, like I said, so much heartbreak, but so much beauty. I found this to be completely interesting, and so Katherine does a wonderful job of weaving in what is economically and socially going on in India in with these people's stories. You can see how it affects this very impoverished area. She does a wonderful job of kind of showing you the different levels of government and the corruption and how that trickles down and affects people. She does a wonderful job of connecting all the stories, and I don't know, I just felt like giving you a very honest portrait of what was going on, just to see the resiliency and just the striving on, even in these very dark and seemingly hopeless situations. It was so great. And another really interesting part that I didn't know, so in Undercity, so it's this area behind the airport. There were people that came and just they built their homes there, but they really don't have any ownership to the land. So these international airports, for the sake of safety, are trying to just evacuate mass amounts of people. and just like that's hard because these people have built their homes and their lives, but they're still trying to do it. And just you know, in the face of that, like, how do you live a life? How do you live and raise your kids and, you know, try to get them education? So just, you know, all of the things that poverty affects. And she just, I think because of her extensive studying of poverty, just did a great job of weaving that in and kind of showing the effects of that. And it was just a great story if you are interested in case studies of different people groups, if you are interested in poverty, if you're interested in Mumbai or India and kind of knowing things that are going on there in the last 20 years. I think this is a wonderful book. It's like I said, it was a very hard listen, it was very heartbreaking, but it was so important, and I'm so glad I listened to it, and I definitely gave that a 5-star. The book I listened to was Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua Foer. This is a book all about memory. Joshua Foer is also a journalist, and he is writing his book about memory, and he kind of stumbled about this in a very odd way. He kind of found out about memory competitions, and so he does a wonderful job of explaining his story, which involves like actually entering a memory competition, studying and learning for that so he can participate, and all his kind of look and study of memory, kind of the brain, how our brain works with memory, kind of the psychology behind memory, and also some memory techniques. So this is such a cool story. Again, we have these two kind of different narratives being woven in together, so it makes it super accessible and super interesting because you're really wanting to know how Josh is going to do in the memory competition, and just kind of the antics that he gets up to because of that, but also what's actually going on in our brains, and the science kind of behind what he's doing. So it was just such a cool story, a great listen. I felt like I learned a lot and I got a lot of good information from it, but it wasn't overwhelming to listen to. I felt like it was a very natural pace and I wasn't overloaded, but I also don't feel like he sacrificed good information just to make it easy to digest. It was just very well written, super interesting, and I think if you're at all interested in the brain or memory or just someone's experience with very high intensity memory training, I think this would be a great book for you, and I gave it a 4-star. The last book I listened to in January was Blackbird House by Alice Hoffman. This was, to me, it seems like a tale of interconnected short stories all surrounding Blackbird House, which is a place in Massachusetts, just off of the ocean. It's kind of this magical, ethereal patch of farmland in Massachusetts. And so Blackbird House and this patch of land really is the main character. It is the only constant in these moving short stories, because in all the different short stories, there are different people living in this house. So the Blackbird House is the only constant. The first story was absolutely beautiful. It moved me to tears. It is the story of the person who built the house, and he is a fisherman in Massachusetts in, I think it might have been the 17 or 1800s, and his family's story. It was wonderful. The rest of the stories, kind of, some I loved, some I didn't. I felt like there were so many beautiful, magical moments in the story, but I also felt like there were some that just almost went a little too far, almost kind of on the edge of kitschy, and so I don't know if that had something to do with the narrators. Every story is told by a different narrator, and that's a little jarring when you're listening to it, especially like I loved the first narrator and I loved the first story, and the second one wasn't so much my cup of tea. I didn't really like her narration style. So I don't know if I didn't really like the second story because I didn't like the narrator or because I just didn't think the writing was as good. I don't know. So I really am hoping to purchase this book and reread it sometime this year because there were so many stories in this book that I absolutely loved, that really moved me, and there were some that I just, like I said, kind of broke the magic, just were a little kitschy and kind of just not this beautiful, ethereal, kind of magical tale that Alice had been weaving. So, I don't know. My library didn't have it. About halfway through the audiobook, I wanted to stop and read the physical book, but my library didn't have it, so I continued because I was super interested. I love the idea of Blackbird House being the sedentary thing, and that the people are the things that are changing and coming and going, but the place is just, it is. And I thought that was a beautiful concept of just thinking about place and homes, or a home or a place of land that we love, that it's been there and will be there. And that was a cool concept, and I felt like some stories portrayed that so well, and some just, I don't know. And again, I think it has something to do with the change in narrators that broke the magic for me. But so hopefully sometime soon I will get a copy of that and get to read it physically and see how my opinions change about that. So those are the 3 audiobooks that I listened to in January. I didn't say, I gave Blackbird House a 4-star, I believe. So, and I think it could be higher. I think it could be one of my favorite books, just depending on my experience of reading it rather than listening to it. So that was all that I listened to in January. I really enjoyed all of them. I am really looking forward to listening to some more nonfiction. I've decided that that is my favorite way to consume nonfiction, and honestly, I stay the most interested in listening when they're nonfiction reads, it seems. So I'm excited to get into some more. I would love to know what are some audiobooks that you've recently listened to and loved. If you have some that have a really good narrator, or if you just thought the experience was hands-through audiobooks, I would love to know that. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful reading month or listening month in February. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.